Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another live stream of Barry Darnall Art. I don't have a camera with me on it tonight. I had a small accident and the mount got broken on it, so we'll forego seeing my lovely mug this evening. However, we are going to be doing a drawing tonight that is, let me pull it up here, the reference photo. We're going to be doing this drawing here of an old Lincoln automobile. This is by a photographer named Hayden Walker, and this photograph is from unsplash.com. And the photograph I really like because it's got really nice contrast in it. And what I plan on doing is the car and the ground and the shadows with the car, but I'm going to probably do away with the foliage and things like that when I get to the done with the final drawing here. So that's kind of my game plan. Starting off, what I would like to do though, I would like to share with you guys a image of the parrot that we were drawing the last few weeks. Let me go back here to the main drawing, and I'll just put it up here so you can see it. So I worked on, oops, sorry about that. I worked on it throughout the weekend and the week, and this is the final drawing. So I was pretty happy with the way it came out. I may still go in and do some things with some of the shadows down in here. I'm not completely happy with that, but for the moment, this is where I left off at, and I'm fairly happy with the drawing. Okay. Now, if you'll bear with me for just a second, I just realized one small problem I need to fix here, and let me see if I can fix that issue real quick. The problem that I've got is that my camera image here is upside down. And give me just a second. I'll see if I can fix that problem. So this is always fun when you're trying to do these things. We're going to, boom, there we go. All right, so now my hand is where it belongs and all is good with the world. So this is the image that we're going to be drawing. I'm going to rotate this image here too. Isn't this fun when you try and do these things and, oops, that is not the one I wanted to rotate. Hold on here. So this is the beauty of doing this kind of stuff live. You're just getting all kinds of excitement in the process. Okay. I'm going to try and promise no more accidents here. All right. So, hey, for those of you that are joined in, thank you for joining in. I appreciate you tuning in to my broadcast. If you get a chance and you want to put some comments over there, I would love to see your comments. And if I see you pop up, I will try and catch it and respond. If you've got questions or comments, please throw them up there. I'd love to hear from you. And while we're talking about that, if you would like to subscribe and like my channel, that would be very helpful. I'm trying to grow the channel. And if you would hit the notification bell, anytime I put up new videos or I'm putting up a live stream, you should get a notification from YouTube that I've got something coming out. So I would love for you to join up, and I would love to hear from you and would love to see you. All right, so let's get going with this now. We are going to start off with this. I need to get some dimensions laid down for this. So I know the first thing is I want to put a line up here on the top of this. I want to give myself a border area to start working with. So we're going to get the line thrown in up here on the top. Okay. And I know I'll probably want to have my drawing fall into about this area right in here. So we'll throw that in. Now the board that I've got underneath here, this mat, it's just it's like a sewing mat or a crafts mat. It's got measurements on it. It actually works out really good when you're drawing to be able to put things up there, and you can have, you know, the ability to draw fairly straight and level lines across there based on where you've got things posted. Okay. All right. So the next thing I'm going to be using is this little device here. Okay. For those of you who've never seen one of these, this is called a proportional divider. And what I can do with this is by adjusting the position of this small centerpiece, I can cause this to open and close at a larger dimension on one end and a smaller dimension on the other end. Okay, and what that lets me do is I can take something, for example, I'll take this small ink bottle, I can measure that ink bottle, okay, and now I have a measurement here that I can use to redraw that ink bottle to a slightly larger size. And by measuring different things in my drawing, I can keep everything in proportion, I can get fairly accurate measurements. And I use this to basically start some of the drawing, to lay out some key points and get things on the roads. Once I get some key lines and stuff in there, or some key points in there, then I start going in and actually doing the drawing myself based on my image and those key points. So if you've never used a proportional divider, there are several good videos out there. I need to probably do one myself on these before too long. But they're an awesome tool. This particular one, I think I picked it up for under $15 when I bought it. I think you can find them for probably less than 10 nowadays. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of measurements. So the first measurement that I'm going to take is off of my source image here, okay? And what I'm actually going to measure is the distance from the top to bottom of the image, okay? So I'm going to come up here where my image is at, but I'm going to measure off of my actual image that I'm working from. And now I'm going to take that measurement and I'm going to put it up here on my drawing, and I'm going to make a mark, okay? And then I'll make a mark over here as well. And now I can throw in my line across those. And what I've got at this point is the upper and lower dimension of my total drawing space. The only thing I don't have right now is the right limit of my drawing, but I'll get to that eventually as I start putting in some of my marks, okay? So the next thing that I want to do is I want to put in a mark that kind of shows me the center line of my drawing. Hang on for just a second here. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to put in my center line on my drawing. And again, I'm going to use the proportional divider, okay? And I'm going to measure on my drawing to determine where that center line's at, okay? And I'm measuring that with one end of the divider, and then I'm coming back. So I measured it with this end. Now I'm going to come back in with this end, and I'm going to put in my mark right there, and I'm going to put in my mark over here. And now I've got a center line that I can work from. And this lets me have another line that I can use to draw from or to measure from, okay? So you've probably seen a grid method where people draw out a grid of their drawing. Well, this is similar to the grid method, except you're not putting all the lines down, you're just having a few key lines down, okay? So the first thing I want to do with this drawing is I want to get a measurement from the left side of my area over to where the bumper is going to start on this vehicle, okay? So I'm going to take that measurement off of that left side. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put that measurement down. Now, I don't know how far down from the center line that is just yet, but I can measure it real quick. And now I can put that mark in there, and I'm actually pretty much right on the money, okay? The next thing I want to do is I want to go to where the right fender of the car meets the hood, and I want to get a measurement of the location of that line. Okay. And now that I've got that measurement, I can bring it over. I can put in approximately where I think it's at. Okay, so I measured from here to here. Now I'm going to measure from this line down to that same spot. And that's going to put that actually about right there. So a little bit higher than what I had originally measured. So I'll get rid of that first little mark so I don't get confused with it when the time comes. All right. And now what I've got is the ability to come in here and I can actually start to lay in where I think that fender is going to be. Okay. And I know that if I come up from here, that's going to be where my hood comes to. Now I can measure to find out what's going to be the height of my hood. Okay. So I'll come in and now I'm going to measure to where the hood is actually meeting the window frame. Okay. And I'm going to come in and put that mark in here about where I think it's going to end up at. Okay. Then I'll actually measure the window frame from the side of the image. And now I can come in and I can see that I was off a little bit. So I'll put my new mark right here. Okay. So I know that the hood comes up and now this is where it meets the window frame. Okay. And I'm going to continue going through here and I'm going to continue putting all these points down and loosely drawing in the various elements of the car. And then once I get several of those elements in place, then I can start going in and I can really start laying in the detail of it. So this is going to be where the hood comes down to meet the grille of the car. And right now I'm always using the side of my drawing as, or the side of my reference photo as my reference. So you'll see I'm putting the point here and that's telling me where this point is going to end up. Okay. And then I'll measure down from that center line that I drew to get a more accurate measurement on where it comes from this line down. Okay. And it comes down to here. So you see, I estimated that it was going to be all the way down here. But when I actually measure it, it's only coming down this little bit. So I know it's going to come in and then it's going to come down about right there. Okay. Now the next thing I want to measure is the other side of the hood. So I'll do a real quick measurement. Now this time I'm going to actually take a measurement from here to here off of my drawing. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I'm fairly comfortable with the measurement that I took here. So I'm confident that I can measure that point there and it's going to be about where I need it to be. Okay. And now I'll measure down from that center line. Okay, sometimes this thing's a little bit tricky to get. I really need to, I've said this before, I really need to get a camera set up so you all can see what I'm doing with the reference image when I'm drawing. And I need to just figure out how to do that so that I can show you this. Okay, so now I've got my reference point there and I'm just going to loosely draw in a line that I think represents where that hood is going to end up at. Okay. I hope these lines are coming out and standing out in there. And I'm going to make these a little bit bolder. Hopefully they'll start to show on there a little bit better. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to actually go from the edge here and I want to bring it over to where the windshield comes down and meets the car over here. Okay. So there's actually a little point where those posts are meeting the hood and I'm going to measure that on the reference drawing. And now I'm going to come over and I'm going to put that mark over here, about where I think it's going to end up at. And then I'm going to measure from my center line up to that point. And I am right on the money there. Okay. So now I know that this is where the other side of my window is going to come up. And I know that this is where the hood of the car is going to come up here. Okay. And now I can just kind of do my best judgment of the angle of this hood, the way it's going to come up here. So that's roughly it there. And now I'm going to try and find a spot here. Good question. What spot am I going to find? I guess I want to find the distance from the hood up to the center top of the roof. And I'm going to do it right as straight up above the rear view mirror as I can, because that should be the center of the car, more or less. So that gives me a measurement to about right here. Okay. And then I will again measure from the side of the drawing. And that is going to put that mark about actually right here. So that's going to be kind of the center top of the car. Okay. So that's all going to come over here. This is where my window post comes up here. So I know it's going to come up here, and I can bring that curve around. And then I know that this is going to carry over here. And the curve of this is kind of interesting because it really comes all the way around to the back of the car is what we're seeing. So I'm going to try and capture that range from here to here. And again, I'm comfortable with that measurement because I'm fairly comfortable that I've got good marks on the rest of the drawing. So I think they're going to be fairly accurate. Okay. And you know, the drawing, I'm not intending for this drawing to be a 100%, you know, down to the molecule accurate representation of what I'm drawing. I mean, if you wanted to, I guess you could do that. It's perfectly feasible to do it, especially if you're using a proportional divider. Oh, wow. I pretty much landed that mark right where it belongs. So the roof then comes over and it comes here, and then it kind of does a drop, kind of a real sharp drop down there to that. Okay. And now I know that this line here is going to come up here, and it gets up to about this point, and then it is going to come up and then come back down to that point right there on the rear of the car. Okay. And I can, if I want to, I can go in and I can take a measurement from here to here to make sure that I've got this point fairly close. In fact, why don't I do that and just see how good my eye is. This is one of the things that a proportional divider is actually really good to use as kind of a training tool, is if you draw something with your eye and then you use the proportional divider to check your measurements against what you're actually drawing now. So that's kind of interesting, because if my measurement is correct here, which I feel like it is, but it may not be. We might have to check my measurement over there. So based on what I'm measuring, oh, there we go. I had a mismeasurement. I'm actually pretty much right on. I mismeasured on the drawing. That's why it was showing way over here. Now that I remeasured it and brought it back over, I am pretty much spot on with where that needs to be. So that's actually kind of helpful, because that kind of tells me that my eye and my perception is fairly well lined up, and the things that I'm drawing are fairly accurate with what I'm seeing. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to bring this back end down, and I want to bring it to where the chrome strip is at. Okay. So I'll take a measurement going from, again, the side of the drawing, the side of the reference photo. And I'm going to go over to that point right there. And I'm going to bring this over and I'm going to measure this out right here. And I'm guessing that mark's going to end up roughly somewhere in that area. And now I'm going to take a measurement from that center line again. And then I'll transfer that over here. And I'm not too far off, but I am a little bit low. So we'll put that there. And that's pretty much a straight drop down. So I'm going to go ahead and trust and draw that in. It's pretty much a straight drop. Okay. Now I've got to find where this door curves and comes down to here, where it kind of hides where these two fenders are joining up. Okay. So I'm going to find that point on the reference photo. And I'm going to make that measurement real quick. Oops. I measured it, and then as I was moving, I knocked my proportional divider and knocked my setting off. So this, distance-wise, is going to be about where it comes. I don't know if it's going to come down that low, but we will measure it. And then we will come over and we'll measure it down from that center line. And I was off just probably 1/4 of an inch. Okay. So now I know that this line here has got a slight curve coming from here. It continues out this way. And then about there, it starts to curve toward that point. Okay. So this is really useful. And you know, a lot more artists use tools like this than perhaps will admit that they use tools like this. And if you go back into looking at what a lot of the old masters used to use, I mean, there's this kind of romantic perception of artists, from back in the Renaissance and stuff, that, all of these incredible drawings and paintings they did were done just, strictly freehand. And although a lot of their work was probably done freehand, there's pretty good evidence to support that they were also using a lot of different tools to help them with what they were doing. And there's actually several good books that have been written on it. And there's a movie out called, I think it's Tim's Vermeer, where a engineer, kind of a science type, he decided to try and create one of Vermeer's paintings by using technology of mirrors and lenses and light to see if he could recreate what Vermeer did with his work. And he actually was very, very successful in recreating a painting that rivaled Vermeer's. And this is a guy who had never painted anything in his life, so he pretty much is kind of showing that, even artists back in the Renaissance and back in those times, they were using tools. They were using tools to help them to draw things and to draw things accurately. It's really fascinating. If you're interested in it, you should really take some time and do a little bit of research on it, because it really is fascinating, some of the tools that they've identified that artists, like Michelangelo and Da Vinci and Vermeer and others used throughout their careers. All right. So that's going to be about where that fender comes in. And it's going to come over a little bit this way and drop down. And then this here is going to be the running board coming down off of this point. And I'll have to probably take some measurements of that to make sure I get that. So this is kind of it's kind of a wide angle at the front, and the perspective as this goes towards the back, it really falls off quickly back here. So it's not like you're looking at the side of a car, you're looking at it from this angle. So while you're seeing the full front here, all of this side of the car is compressed into just this little tiny space. And that can be difficult to draw sometimes, especially if you're trying to do a drawing quickly and you want to get the drawing down and get on to the next stages. Using tools like the proportional divider are just great ways of doing that. Okay, so I think what I want to do next is I want to start getting some of this fender in, because this is going to lead me to other things over here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out where this hood comes down and joins the fender over here. And I'll start off by measuring from that center line down so I can find the top of the fender. Okay, and I know that the fender is somewhere in the area of this post. So I'll come down here and we'll mark that. Okay, and now I know that my measurement here is good. So I'm going to measure from here to here. That way I'm not trying to make this big measurement like this. I'm trying to take a smaller chunk of things. Okay, so I will get that measurement off of my reference image. And then I'll transfer it over here. And I can see that I'm not too far off. I'm a little bit too far to the right. So I'll bring this and just pop it right there. Okay, so now that tells me that this is where that hood is at. Okay, and that hood is kind of coming over here. It comes out beyond that center post a little bit, and then it makes its curve back in, and it's a real slight curve, and it comes right back in to that hood there. Okay, now I want to get this measurement of the hood. Okay, this one's going to be kind of interesting because the has a very long curve in it, and those can be sometimes challenging to do here. I could just draw this in, okay, but what I'm going to actually do is there is a device right here. I don't know if it's a fastener device or if it was a mount for a mirror or something like that, or maybe it's a hand. It looks like maybe it's a handle on the hood. So I'm going to come to the front part of that handle, and that's what I'm going to measure, is that handle from this side of the hood to that handle. Okay, and I'm going to bring that over here, and I'm going to pop that in. Just make a little mark right there. Then I'll measure down from my center line so I can find out where that is at in relationship to the edge of that hood. There we go. And I'll put that in. So now that tells me that right there, just a little bit above the mark I'd originally put. So that's going to be the point where this comes down from here to here. There's almost a straight line here. There's a little bit of a curve probably. That comes to there. But then it comes over here and it has a pretty stark curve. So this actually comes up here, comes up like this, and then comes up and meets that point right there. Okay. Now, this looks kind of weird, but for the moment, I'm going to trust that what I'm doing with this thing is giving me accurate information. I'm actually going to take a measurement here now, and I'm going to try and get the center line of the hood in, because that'll help a little bit too. And I'm actually going to start because that center line crosses, or that center line of the hood crosses the center line that I drew. So I'm actually going to draw that. I'm actually going to find that point first. There we go. And I'll put that in here. Now this is kind of an interesting line, because even though it's in the center of the car, because of the angle the car's at, it's actually still sitting a little bit further this way in the image than this way, but it still is the center of the hood. Okay, so now I'll come down and find where that point ends up here. And again, I'm going to go from the edge of the reference photo. Double check my measurement there. Okay. And that brings me to this point here. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm pretty sure something is amiss here. I'm not sure if I measured something incorrectly, but something again is amiss. And even with the proportional divider, you have to be willing to check yourself. Okay, I put that mark down and I'm really confident that either this mark or this mark, one of these two marks, is wrong. Okay, so I'm going to remeasure both of them. I'll start off with that mark I did on the top first. Okay, I'm getting that measurement. I'm trying to be really careful with it. And there's my problem. So first of all, this mark is off a little bit. My original mark was there. The actual mark is over here to the side. Now I'm going to double check this one because I think that may have a slight issue going on as well. I'm actually going to go up above that little Lincoln logo and measure that. See, it's really not cooperating over here. Okay. And we'll bring it over and it's still not cooperating. What is going on here? So bring this in. So that mark is still going where it showed earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and trust my mark, even though it's still making me uncomfortable because I don't think there's that angle there from this point to this point, but I'm going to trust it. Okay, I can always come back in and I can correct it. All right, I'm going to get rid of this mark here because I don't want it to get involved in my drawing at this point. All right, and now I'm going to come in. I'm going to start putting in this grill down here. Okay, I see I've got a couple of people who are checked in right now. If you're checked in, drop me a comment there and let me know who's here. I'd certainly appreciate knowing who's here. So now I've taken a measurement from here down to here. This gives me the bottom limit of that grill where you can see the chrome curving around the lower part of the grill. All right. And now I want to get an idea of where the sides of this grill are going to be at. So again, I'm going to come over here I'm going to start with the edge of my reference photo to measure because it's going to be the most constant mark to measure from. And I'll come over here and it's showing that grill is going to end up about right there. And then I want to measure from this point over to try and figure out where the other side of that grill is at. And that's going to bring me over to about this area here. Okay, so now I've got the left and right limits of where the grill is at. I know that there's a gap in here between the hood and the grill. And I know from looking at it that grill comes out beyond the hood a little bit and then starts to curve down. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and try my hand at drawing that in. All right. And I think I went a little bit too much of an angle there. It comes more like that as I'm looking at it. So I'll go ahead and make that little bit of correction there. And then it's going to come down. So I'm going to find this corner and this corner so I have something to draw to. So this roughly is going to be where that corner should end up at. And then I'll measure from corner to corner. And so this roughly should be where this corner is going to end up at. And now I'm going to measure from my center line down to both of those just to check myself and see how close I got to where the actual corners are at. And I'm way off. So this corner is actually going to come to about right here. So I'm assuming this one's not going to be much further off than that one either. And this one's going to come down to about right here. Okay, so now that tells me that my lines here are off a little bit. I'm going out this way. I need to bring this probably more straight down, because I went pretty much right to the corner here. And this one here is going to have to come out this way. And more straight down to about right there. Okay. I'll clean this up a little bit here. Just makes it easier for me to look at as I'm drawing. Okay. And now I know that this spot right here, again, is where that hood is, or where that chrome is curving down. So I know that from right in here somewhere out is where this is going. So I'll just kind of get a quick line in out to there, to that. And I know that probably from about right here over, it comes up, and this has got a really a much steeper angle to it than this side because of the perspective. And we'll pull that down. All right. So we are back in the money there. All right. Now I want to get my measurements down from here to here and then down to the bottom of this. And I'll be able to go in and fine tune all of this and fix a lot of this. And that's just part of the process. All right. And now I want to go and I want to see the outer limits left and right on this piece of chrome under here, where this is at. And one of the reasons I wanted to draw this car was because of the chrome. It's got a ton of chrome on it. The older cars, and if you're my age, I was still seeing some of these cars on the road back when I was a kid. There were still a lot of these cars out and about on the road. These days, they're pretty rare to see. When you do see them, it's collectors, and the people that have them are, go to great lengths to keep them in good shape. So they spend a lot of time in the garage nowadays, which I think is probably smart. But I still appreciate the collectors and the restorers who bring these out and share them with people and let people see them and appreciate just what the American cars used to be back in the 40s and 50s and even going into the 60s. We were just building some amazing pieces of machinery back then. And it's always enjoyable to see them still in good condition and out running on the road. Okay, so now so I've got kind of my outer limits here. I want to figure out where this top part of the chrome is going to go. Okay, I know that this is the outer part of my chrome here. So this is going to be my inner chrome here. This is going to come up, and it pretty much appears to run fairly straight across here. And as I'm running this down, this is going to be about here. So I'm just going to go ahead and chance it and put this in here. And I'm going to put this in here. Okay. Now this piece here, even though I measured to here, this piece here is actually going to come down into here. All right. And then I know that it curves under here. And then it's going to run down this way. And I know we're going to end up somewhere here with the outer part of that. Okay, so this is where it starts to get a little bit fun. Now, I've got enough information really on here that a lot of what I'm going to do now, I'll still take some measurements, but a lot of what I'm going to do now is just going to be drawing what I'm seeing. Okay, and that's the beauty of using a proportional divider, is it lets you get in there and take those measurements and get yourself good starting points. Okay. All right. So for anybody who's watching, or for anybody who picks up on this video, I am going to continue with this drawing. I'm going to do this drawing from start to finish every week until it's done. I will work on it in between my live streams, and I will share some video with you every week to show you the progress that I've made and what I've done with the drawing over the course of the week that was not part of the live stream. So let me know what you think about that as you're seeing what I'm doing. I definitely would appreciate the feedback on that as well. Okay. So I think now I'm going to finish out this fender here. Okay. I want to get down to this point where it joins the bumper. All right. And let me know if you are, if you're watching this, if you'd like me to do a longer drawing session, if you want me to go, I'm normally going about 45 minutes or so right now. But if you want me to go for a longer session, let me know in the comments. Tell me you'd like to do a longer session. I'll add some time to it and keep drawing. Let me know if there's things I can do to make this more enjoyable for you, to help you get more out of it. If you want to draw along with me, I can maybe see about doing something to make the reference photo available to people. I'm not sure what that might entail, because it is somebody else's photograph. Even though they're giving permission for people to use it, I still want to be careful that I'm not breaking some rule as far as using their work for what I'm doing here. Measure this line here. I feel like I'm off on that. Well, it says I'm not. So, all right, bear with me for a second here. I just want to check my time while I'm at it. Where are we at? All right. Well, I'm at about 45 minutes right now. So I think what I'm going to do, everybody, is I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this week's live stream. And I will get back into this next Thursday, 6:30. And I should have finished the drawing. And I'll probably do the drawing throughout the rest of the week. And then I'll actually start doing the inking next Thursday. I want you guys to see me actually start doing the inking. So if you tuned in, thank you very much for tuning in. If you watch this after the live stream, please tune in on pretty much every Thursday, 6:30 Central Standard Time is when I do my live streams. I would love to have you join me for the live streams. I would love to have you give me feedback and give me comments while I'm doing the drawing, and let me know what you think about the drawing, the channel, everything I'm doing. All right. So until next time, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you next week, and keep on drawing.